The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. There's a couple of times in the year where we take a little bit of time off and it always feels like we've been gone forever. It's been a little over a week since we've done a live show, but we hope that you enjoyed. I saw that some of you commented and wrote in on some of the shows that we were doing best of last week. And thank you so much for letting us know that you enjoyed that. But we're back. We're live. I'm very excited today because we're welcoming back a guest that we've had on pretty much every year for the last 10 years. Alex Lynn is going to be joining us in about 20 minutes. He is the founder of the Autism Rocks concert and so much more. And it's been such a privilege to watch him grow from a very motivated teenager into the fabulous man that he is now. So we'll be talking with him in about 20 minutes. I'm Shannon Penrod. And as you know, if you watch the show, I identify as a pony. That is a parent of a neurodiverse individual. Those are the words that my son gave me and that we both sort of, approved to describe my relationship to autism. And it's interesting because today for our jargon, we're going to be talking about how other people describe their relationship to autism and how deeply personal it is. So all that coming in just a minute for the jargon of our day. But before that, I want to remind you that we're live right now. Today is July. I started to say September. It is not September. It's July 8th. We just did the 4th of July here the other day in the United States. And hi, Nicholas. So thrilled that you're here. I'm waving back at you. So just be like Nicholas. Nicholas is interacting. You can be interacting right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, about a dozen other sites. Our fabulous Chris Desmond is letting you know on our screen some of those places. But if you might very well be listening to us in podcast, in which case you're not seeing the things on the screen, but we're pretty much everywhere that we can be that you can get us for free. That's been sort of our motto for the last 14 years is be on as many screens where you can get it for free. And it's very critically important to us. It's one of our core values that I've clung to in many a poop storm, in the last 14 years. That we want our information to be free to you. We work hard to make it free for you. And so far, God willing, we'll continue to do that. But when you listen in podcasts, it does mean that you're going to be hearing some advertising because that is literally what makes it free for you. We hope you'll embrace that. If that is just not your jam, if you're not grooving on that, you can go over to glow.fm/autismlive. And for a small monthly fee, for $5 a month, you can get everything that the Autism Network does in podcasts, and you can get it ad-free, and it will be sent directly to you. Again, that's glow.fm/autismlive. Otherwise, embrace those advertisements because I know when I listen to podcasts and every time one comes on, it's a little break, but I go, hey, thanks for paying so that I can listen to this. I wish my cable bill would be more like that. But anyway, so thrilled to be here with you guys this morning and so much to talk about. But I want to talk about our jargon of the day today because it's going to take us a couple of minutes and I don't want to eat into Alex's time. Now, normally we only do one jargon term of the day, but every once in a while we have to do two because it's like the two sides of the coin. So today we're talking about person first / identity first language. And I have to be honest with you that I have struggled over the years to understand what the nuances were. In terms of the language. But I know that it's very hot button issue and personal to folks, about which words to use to describe themselves. So I want to learn. I want to be a better student. I want to understand better, but I also want to know exactly what it is we're talking about. So anyway, let's launch in and let's see where we get. So let's talk about people first language. That's person first language. And it's, the abbreviation for it is PFL. And the definition that we have from the Government Office of Disability Rights here in the United States says that this people first language puts the person before the disability and describes what a person has, not who a person is. PFL uses phrases such as person with a disability, individuals with disabilities, and children with disabilities, as opposed to phrases that identify the people based solely on their disability, such as the disabled. It's important to note that this is the adopted language of the official government of the United States, PFL, person first language. So you will hear me frequently say, that someone, they're an individual on the spectrum. That is the very definition of person first language, that it's saying that they are a person, I always just say a person who has an autism diagnosis, right? Many years ago, I used to describe my, people in my family, I would say so-and-so has autism. And that didn't ring exactly right for me. So we moved that to an autism diagnosis, right? But all of that is person first language. And you will see that in the official, anytime somebody is speaking officially from the government, that is the language, because this is the official adopt language. And a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people are up in arms about it, want it changed, distrust organizations that use person first language. I want to note that the idea here was that the person is more than their diagnosis. That was the idea. And this goes across all quote unquote disabilities. And I have to kind of do the air quotes and squint a little bit because, officially, our government and the medical world recognizes autism as a disability. And that catches me a little bit, right? Because I don't think it always is. And I struggle with that a little bit, but, this is what person first language is. And for a lot of people, this is critical for them. I would say that for people who have other disabilities, hi, Autism Journey with Elijah. So thrilled to have you here. I think that this is one of those things, like my mother was a person who would have been classified as having a disability. My mother was born clubfoot with both feet facing backwards, and my mother never in her life had an opportunity to run. She spent her childhood like Forrest Gump in the braces, right? And in crutches and in wheelchairs. And in my childhood, same thing, in crutches and in wheelchairs. And she could walk short distances with a limp. Eventually, my mom had a surgery so she could potentially walk more, but she spent her whole life being somebody that other people would have classified as disabled. And you could hear me couching my words because that is not how my mother would have ever described herself. My mother played girls basketball with braces on. You know what I'm saying? My mother was like, they tried to give her one of those handicap things for parking for probably 30 years. And she turned it down until she literally couldn't do anything else but take it. But those were not the words that she would have used. So she was very adamant about person first language. She was like, I'm a person, I have challenges. And that's how she would describe it. So that's how I was raised. And that's the community in which I was raised. I think with autism, it's much more split because some individuals in this community feel very strongly about the other. So let's go ahead to identity first language and recognize that with autism, perhaps this is a different situation. Identity first language, IFL, emphasizes the disability and or diagnosis first in the description, focusing on the role a disability has in shaping a person's identity. Supporters of IFL feel that it embraces all aspects of one's identity, and it is preferred by many disability advocates who see it as a way to signify pride in one's identity. Some members of these communities also choose to capitalize deaf, blind, or autistic. And this comes to us from developmental pathways. And I think that it's notable that within the wide disability community, it spells it out for us right there that the deaf, blind, and autistic communities, a higher percentage of individuals embrace identity first language than maybe those with physical, other physical disabilities. So, again, I find myself editing because I'm not a person who identifies myself as being disabled. And so I want to be as respectful as I possibly can when talking about these two things. But I want to come at this from the perspective of someone who is an ally. Both, I don't know why I'm emotional all of a sudden, both as a daughter and as a mom, that I want to be a person who is helping the people that I love be all that they want to be. And that starts with listening. And that it's critically important that we ask a person, how do you feel? It's so funny to me that what's the flag we proudly fly for the autism community? When you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism. And yet we think that there should be a mode of describing it that should be the same for everyone. I just see in my life that doesn't work. That what I want to try to do in my life, it's hard. It's very hard. I don't get it right 100% of the time. But what I want to be is someone who acknowledges individuals and says, how do you feel? What does it feel like for you? What words do you use to describe for yourself? What makes you comfortable? What could I possibly say that would offend you so that I can avoid saying that? And if I say something that offends you, I want to immediately apologize. And then I want to have a teaching moment where I learn. I think that those are the critical things. Now, would it be better to have someone who have a lot of someones on the spectrum describing these two jargon terms for you? Absolutely. And we're going to ask Alex Lynn to weigh in on this in a minute. But I also want to acknowledge that will be Alex's opinion, which I'm deeply, deeply interested in. But we could have 5 other people on who would say 5 other things. And is this any different than anything else in the world? As I was driving in this morning, I was thinking about this and thinking, we all have words that we like to use to describe ourselves and words that we don't like to use to describe ourselves. And, I know women who don't want to be called women. I know women who don't want to be, when somebody says lady, that they find that offensive. Personally, I love it if somebody calls me a lady. I feel like, ooh, poo-poo shishi, I'm going to lift my pinky with my tea. Right? But I don't like it when somebody in a professional setting calls me girl. That does not make me happy, right? Because that's me. I think we all have ways that we see ourselves. We all have words that we use to describe ourselves. Why would that not be true for autism? Why would that not be true for the deaf? I got a lot of flack in the first years that after my son was diagnosed with autism because I was writing blogs. That's how I heal, is to write. I know everything's talking, right? But I love to write. That's how I heal. And whenever I would write autism, I would write it with a capital A. And people were like, that's not grammatically correct. And I would go, I'm having an experience of my child having this, and it's a capital A for me. I relented on that in the last couple of years, just in the last couple of years. But why can we not be more accepting of this individual chooses these words to say? I identify now as a pony, a parent of a neurodiverse individual. I started the show talking about that. And I have stood up as a speaker at conferences and said that. And I always say, these are the words that my son and I have agreed with. And always somebody comes up to me and says, you're saying that wrong. And I go, excuse me. And people will tell me the correct term is neurodivergent. And I say, thank you. What you're telling me is that that's the correct term for you. That is not the term that my son uses, but I appreciate knowing that that's the term that you prefer. And I think that it's important to not just get mad at the individual who's telling you how to identify yourself, right? But to continue to use those words. That's what's right for you. This is what's right for my son. This is what's right for me. So interesting, right? it is notable that our government has decided, because it's hard. I know when I was writing my book, I had to put some language in the beginning and say, you know, sometimes I'm going to use she, sometimes I'm going to use he, sometimes I'm going to use they, sometimes I'm going to use this word, sometimes I'm going to use that word. It's not meant to be disrespectful. It's just how we need to get through this. Language is important, but it can also trip you up. So anyway, I want to read what people are saying here. Autism Journey with Elijah says, I'm a firm believer that a person comes first before the diagnosis. And that's wonderful for you. And that's how I tend to be too. But we acknowledge that it isn't everybody. And they said, I definitely agree, Shannon. Lucy says, Shannon, thank you for all you do. You've made an incredible impact in helping our community, and so many individuals get their very important services needed. You have contributed so much and have helped me tremendously. Lucy, that's so amazing. And I'm so, listen, sometimes I don't feel very capable. I think we all have days like that. So if I have helped any of you on any day, even for a couple of minutes, it makes my day. You know, I try. That's all we can do is try, right? Well, so I'm going to start to introduce our guest, because he's somebody who, talk about try. He gets stuff done. We first met Alex Lynn when I think he was 15 or 16. I'm not 100% sure. But he was a high school student, and he was a high school student with a big dream and big ideas about what he was going to do. And I remember that we were all like, okay, you know, which is terrible. We should never be doubting somebody because they're a teenager. But Alex had big ideas that he was going to do a concert, and he wanted to do it in a big way. And he continues on a yearly basis. I think there were a couple of years during the pandemic when the concert didn't happen because, you know, it couldn't. But let's talk a little bit about Alex. Alex is now 25, which is like really makes me feel very old, but in the best possible way. And Alex is a Taiwanese American from Los Angeles in Taiwan. He grew up in Taipei. For most of his life, though, he lived in Los Angeles. And for 3 years for high school, he went to the University of Waseda in Tokyo, Japan, studying international liberal studies. He started doing charity work from the age of 15 years old with his own autism awareness event in his international school in Taipei, Taiwan, and started his own autism charity concert when he was 17 called Autism. So I guess he was 17 when we met him. And it was called Autism Rocks. And ever since, he's continued doing it until now. And it's happening this year again at the University City Walk. And so what an amazing, amazing thing. He's done 6 concerts total. And co-hosted all of them, inviting big headliners, including James Durbin. That was an amazing concert. Adana Duru, Travis Atreo, Dylan Dunlap, Single by Sunday, and Dylan Bernard. He helped many autistic performers showcase their talent and start their career too. Some of the amazing performers he's had: Logan Shepard, who we all acknowledge here on the show, Aiden Boyer, who I'm sure you guys saw on American Idol, Miracle Project Live, Nick Guzman, Autism Movement Therapy Dancers, and many, many others. I have been so impressed with Alex over the years and his ability to make it happen. And it hasn't been without adversity. There have been times when, we kind of keep in touch through Facebook, and there have been times where he's like, I don't know, for like 3 seconds. And he's like, no, I do know. I'm going to make it happen this year. And he has. And that's a rare, rare trait in anyone. And it needs to be celebrated. So we're so thrilled to have Alex back. I want to talk with him about everything that's going on with him, and most especially about this concert. Alex, good morning, good evening. It's late, late night there where you are.
Yeah, it's early in the morning right now in Taiwan.
So thank you you're young, so hopefully you can stand being up this late.
Yeah, it's fine. I just drink coffee for tomorrow for work.
But then you're going to hop on a plane and come out here because the concert is in just a couple of days, correct?
Yes. I'll hop on a plane, I think tomorrow at 11 p.m. Right now it's July 9th, 1:17 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah, it's early hours in the morning. Well, let's start by talking about when the concert is, who can go, all the particulars, and then I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions.
Okay, that sounds great. Autism Rocks, the 7th annual Autism Rocks concert is happening on July 13th this year from 6 to 9 p.m. at Universal Studios City Walk.
Is that Saturday,
on
Alex?
Saturday?
Yeah.
Saturday, July 13th. And we will have Gabrielle Viwi, Autism Allies, there's Ben Olsen, Gage Danson. They're the Autism Allies this year. And from the autism community, we have Gabrielle Ziwi, we have Sierra June, we have Sequeak, we have Sasha Saunders, who is from the Miracle Project previously and still is, but she is singing solo this year. And then we have so many people that I'm almost forgetting them. We have, of course, we had an audition this year with the Flutie Foundation, and we picked a winner this year. And his name is Nico Vargas. He is the first Autism Rocks Flutie Foundation contest winner to be picked by us.
What does that mean to be a winner? What did he win?
So we did an audition. We had 9 auditionees, and we picked one. We had to pick one out of all 9.
To do what though?
Nationwide, to perform at Autism Rocks.
Okay. So he's a performer.
He supported. Yeah, the performer is a singer. Yeah, he's from Fresno, California. And I can tell you that he's awesome, and he's gonna sing I Want to Dance with Somebody. And
I love that song.
That guy, he's the same as that man can sing. He's amazing. He can reach like pitches I can't reach, and he's amazing, and he's a very lovely person.
So this is the first year, though, that you partnered with the Doug Flutie Foundation.
Last year.
Was last year. They're an amazing organization. And so what a feather in your cap to be affiliated with them, and how good for them to be affiliated with you. What a wonderful partnership.
Yeah, I just want to add, I do have Laura K. Jane also performing. She was also a part of the audition process, and she's performing too. Okay, so even though she didn't win, she still gets to perform. Yeah, because she was also awesome. It was very hard to pick a winner, but we had to pick Nico in the end because we had to pick one. But Sasha Saunders and Laura KJ, who are also the finalists, are joining us to perform this year. So the concert is on Saturday, and what time does it start? 6 p.m. to 9. It'll start at 6 p.m. It'll end around 9 p.m. And for people who don't know, Universal City Walk, it's an open area. There's an amazing world-class stage with a Jumbotron over it. There's like places to dance and stand and celebrate. But also, if you want to go to the food court is just above there on the escalators. So you can go, they have all probably 20 restaurants up there, and you can get your food and sit right there and look over the balcony and watch the whole concert. This is not a small thing. This is a huge, huge thing in a huge, huge venue that, I remember when you were like 16 years old and saying that you wanted to do it there, and people thought you were a dreamer, but you were a dreamer like Disney. You saw it and you went after it. And here you are all these years later, and you're still making it happen. We should note, Alex, that this is a free concert, correct? Yes, the free concert. You can just come by and watch and be entertained by the amazing talents from the autism community, or also Ben Olsen and Gage Danson's performance, who they're supporters of the autism community. They're neurotypical, but they still support people like us. And that's why they are there to perform that day. Well,
Wonderful. Now, we should note that there are many ways to get to Universal City Walk. You can take the train, take the bus, you can walk, do whatever. If you choose to park, there is a parking fee to park. But otherwise, the concert is completely free and absolutely amazing. And a lot of people in the community come out to dance and celebrate and be there. I always tell the story that years ago, when our dear friend Joanne Laura, who has since passed away, but was the founder and director of Autism Movement Therapy, at the sound check, I was there and taking pictures and doing whatever. And Autism Movement Therapy was out and they were dancing on the stage. And a woman was just walking through City Walk and stopped me and said, "What is this?" I said, "Oh, this is the sound check for the concert tonight." And I pointed to the Jumbotron. I said, "It's Autism Rocks." And she said, "You're telling me that those kids up there have autism?" And I remember there was one of my favorite young men in the world who needs to wear noise canceling headphones. And he was dancing up a storm. And she was like, this woman was so emotional. And she said, "I didn't realize this was possible." She said, "I thought autism was something else. And I didn't know this was possible." And I remember that moment always, Alex, and I bring it up because that's just somebody we know that had that epiphany. But of all of the tens of thousands of people who have watched your concert, we have no idea how many people had that epiphany, but probably a lot. And I remember telling you that story afterwards to let you know what you were doing mattered. That here was just somebody that wasn't even going to be there for the concert, was there for the sound check, knew very little about autism, but the face of autism was changed for her because you did this. Which I don't think that was your exact mission. Talk a little bit about why, but it's a payoff, right? Talk a little bit about why you started these concerts.
Well, I started this concert, one, because I have a promise to keep to my late grandmother that I'll live my life to the fullest and I'll do something that will make her proud and happy. That will help benefit not only myself, but other people. And she was always a benevolent and a person who can see a desperate soul and want to help other people. And even though she died, I wanted to continue that legacy and kind of emulate her in that way. And I wanted to spread that love for everyone with autism because I feel like I just really want them to belong in society and live a normal life. And a normal life meaning like a life full of joy, understanding, companionship, acceptance, and with meaning, life with a meaning, life with full of hope and joy and happiness, and that's what people with autism deserve. And whenever I heard about autism beforehand, it was all like on all the news or whatever. It's very negative, and I really wanted to change that narrative. And I'm sick and tired of hearing that we're useless and we can't do anything and blah blah blah. I want to show them what we can really do.
Well, I have to say, I think your grandmother would be very proud of you. I'm proud to know you, Alex. I've been very proud of the work that you've done, that you've been able to do. And you said something years ago about this. I don't know if you even remember, but you were talking about acceptance. And you said, that the opposite of acceptance is cruelty and bullying. And that was that was something that you wanted to change one person at a time. And with talent and with music and amazing. At this point, because you kind of have referenced it, let's go back to the jargon of the day, which was how people identify. So I want to ask you, how do you identify, Alex? What are the words that you use to describe yourself in relation to autism? And what language would you like for us to use?
I used to say people with autism because I don't want the autism to define me, but Aiden Boyer kind of schooled me and talked to me about that. He rather use autistic people. So I don't know. I kind of accepted both now. I think like either or is okay. And I mean, I still prefer to use people with autism, but I also now use autistic people. So I'm kind of open to both.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I used to think it's disrespectful to say like autistic people because it doesn't define who I am. And with autism, it's a bit better. But now to make it shorter, make it easier, I usually say autistic people to make it sound easier these days on my social media posts and stuff.
And to Aiden, that was really important.
Yeah, to him, he just decided that it's better that way. So he rather use that term that way.
But for you, preference-wise, for yourself, when it's just you, not talking about the entire community, you tend to say person with autism?
Not as much anymore, but I still prefer that.
Okay. For people who don't know you, tell them a little bit about your origin story. Like when and how were you diagnosed?
Well, I mean, I've been through a lot in life. Well, it's kind of a crazy story because I was diagnosed from a very young age, but my mom didn't tell me for a long time. And after going through traumatic event of being bullied for a long time, for almost my entire life until I was like 13, 14. And then before my freshman year, I've been through a lot and suicide and being expelled from the school. And I guess that kind of knocked some sense into my mom to give me this book about Asperger's. And I asked her, why are you showing me this? Just read it. And just read it and understand what it is. And I'm like, and then slowly I understand that I can read it and I felt a connection to it immediately because I feel like, I have actually symptoms of Asperger's. I talk too much. I talk a lot about specific interests and I started to have a very big interest in it. I did a lot of research in it. I definitely have autism. I definitely have Asperger's at the time. I definitely have Asperger's, and I went to Hong Kong and I got diagnosed by a professional. And then when I was a freshman year and I started to plan a autism awareness event in my European school in Taipei. And, that's pretty much what happened. And after that, I just kept doing autism awareness stuff. And then I met Ned, through the Youth Today summer camp that I went to in 2015. And
for people who don't know, tell them who Nick is.
Pardon me?
For people who don't know and haven't seen you before, tell them who Nick is.
Oh, Ned.
Sorry. Ned Spector we're talking about.
Ned Spector, yes. He is the nice gentleman that introduced both about you to me. And also he introduced doing concerts pretty much. He's the co-founder of Autism Rocks and he has been so supportive every year. He's not really a part of it anymore, but he's still in spirit supporting us. I gotta really thank him. He helped started the whole thing for me. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have the connection to City Walk that I have. And it's really, I gotta thank him for dedicating his time for the first two concerts, and then he gave it to Peggy Iafredi, my co-producer, and then now it's Peggy Iafredi and Sean Aston who's helping with my concert. So I gotta thank these three individuals who are helping me throughout the years.
And important to note that you know, here you were, this teenager with these big dreams, but you went to an adult who was talking about the kinds of things that you wanted to do, was Ned. You went to him, and Ned always describes it that you weren't going to let him be. That you were the very definition of persistence, which we all know about you. That you are persistent, which is a great talent. You know, I think, you know, you've gotten your fair share of, you know, sometimes people will tell you it's too much, but listen, that's how you get stuff done, Alex. I think you know that, and you're a true professional, and you as Nancy Alspaugh Jackson would say, you're like a dog on a pork chop, man. You're not giving up, and that's a talent. That is an absolute talent. So we're going to get back to the concert, but tell us a little bit about, because now you're 25. Tell us a little bit about your life and what because you're done with school. Tell us what's going on.
Right now, I have a boyfriend. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have a boyfriend. I used to have a boyfriend. But anyway, that's not the point. I have a job now. Yeah. And I'm in a ship forwarding company called, GSD. And, I just passed my 3-month probation period just last Thursday. So
congratulations.
I'm starting, thank you so much. I'm permanent now. So I have my own name card. It's very cool. So, it's an electronic, name card now, of course, because of the environment, but it's still very, very cool and
They're
amazing.
Very lucky to have you, Alex.
Yeah, they're very nice. They're very straightforward people. It's been hard to understand the work environment. There's some ignorance there, but I feel like they're starting to understand me and be more, they're more understanding now that they have to repeat stuff multiple times, or if they don't want to do that, they'll tell me to write it down, so they'll not have to repeat it. So I think that's pretty nice that at least they have the courtesy to say that.
So you're making it work on both sides.
Pardon me?
I said you're making it work on both sides. That's absolutely wonderful.
I know. My boss is starting to learn about. He told me before he had no idea what autism was beforehand, and he didn't know it existed, and not before he met me. And I think I taught him. We were both teaching each other a lot. He's teaching me about the adult, how to be an adult, really, and how to grow, and how to be mindful of other people, and also how to control that eagerness I have inside of me, and how to be persistent in the right ways. Like you said, persistency. I actually just wanted to jump back into that. I was eager to find out about whether I'll pass my probation period, so I did ask him quite a lot of times to tell me, and then in the end, he decided to ask. I call her Auntie Lynn. She's not my real aunt, but she helped introduce me to this amazing job. And, she's also a shareholder of this company. And she, brought me in to do like a mock interview. And then they revealed that they want to keep me because why not? I have done everything I can to fit in it's very hard, trust me, to try to fit in their definition, but yeah. I try to lay low, and which is hard for an autistic person to do in the workplace, but I lay low and I try to cause less trouble for other people, and kind of like because a lot of people are complaining about that, so I have to improve on that, which I understand because they're very busy and people have their own thing to worry about, and they're really a very busy company, and everyone's very busy. They don't have time to talk. No one even cares what I'm doing on my phone when I'm working, because they're just so busy. So now I can understand why these people feel that way, and it's been a struggle, but I feel like I learned a lot in this process, and I love this company, and people are starting to understand me, and I'm starting to understand them.
That's amazing.
I think it's a two-way effort. I think it's really, I think it shouldn't be one-sided. I think it's very important.
I agree.
It's always one-sided when it comes to people with autism. Oh, you must change because you're different. But no, I don't. I disagree with that. It should be both sides. Well, if that person with autism can, then I think people without autism should compromise themselves for people who are who have more severe form of autism than I do. You know, they should compromise themselves for them because they're the ones who really need people to understand them.
Well, it's like a dance, right? It's like a two-person dance. And when you're dancing solo, you're going to dance a certain way, right? But when you're dancing with somebody else, both sides have to give and both sides have to communicate. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So I'm really proud of you that you're making it work at this company. I'm proud of them that they're making it work. But you're advocating for your community, not just at work. You've been very involved with the disability law in Taiwan. Talk to us a little bit about what's going on there and what you're doing.
The disability law in Taiwan is very special because it's for mental and physical disabilities. And pretty much what I suggested to them is that I heard they're going to add a personal assistant for people with severe forms of disabilities and job redesign and job insurance. And pretty much they're not going to have a social worker come into the job and tell the boss what to do. Instead, they'll let the boss know that this person with disability reserves the right to sue this boss if they discriminate against that person with disability. And if they discriminate against their disability with words or insults or slurs, then they'll be busted. And if a lot of laws are going to be created from this Disability Protection Act, there'll be an Anti-Discrimination Act in the first time in Taiwanese history for people who are women or the LGBTQ community or people who have disabilities or what I would like to say, people with learning differences and physical differences.
Yeah.
I think that's better than the word disability because I don't think we have a disability. I think we just have a difference.
I agree.
It's different. And pretty much they're talking about using a pamphlet to educate other people. I'm communicating to the government on guidelines on how to help people with autism. And I'm talking to the office manager of a legislature who's drafting the law currently. They're going to reveal it by September, I think, and kind of pass it in the legislature in Taiwan. I hope at least they pass it. I don't think anyone would not want to pass it because Taiwan has been so open to minorities. Even though the party who pretty much has the majority right now, pretty much three parties in Taiwan don't have the majority in Congress. But the most people, the party with the most seats, are said to be pro-China, pro-Communist Party, and they're very conservative. And they had a referendum that went against LGBTQ rights. And they never voted for LGBTQ rights, which is horrible, I think, to be honest. But I think by now, they slowly started to accept it. But of course, because they have older voters, so they don't show that they support it. But secretly, I think they're okay with it. And everyone in Taiwan now, after they passed the law, after 2019, everyone that didn't accept it, accepted it. And I can say my aunt is a good example of that. She didn't accept people who are LGBTQ, but she fully supports me for being bi. and she thinks that I'm a child of God too, even though I'm a Christian, but she loves me the same, and she just believes that I'm good, and I'm a Christian too, but I believe I had different beliefs than she did, and we had a long talk about this. I was abused by my boyfriend, and then afterwards, the most magical thing happened. She just started to open up and tell me that she loves me and accepts me the way I am, no matter what. And these things just keep happening. Like, for example, like I got unblocked from one of my friends, one of my good friends, with my first friend, the word Kaoshu. I'm always going to mention him because without him, I would never have made it today. And to put out one person, it seemed like a lot, but he really, the first person to tell me like why people didn't like me, what was different about me, and how to make friends the right way, and what do you not want to do to bother other people. He taught me so many important lessons, and I'm always going to be thankful for that because he's the only person that was so straightforward to me, and in a very kind way, not in a very mean way. So yeah, I'm always going to be thankful for that, and to my family especially, and my grandmother.
Yeah,
and to everyone along the way, they have helped me, and that's why this law is very important because they want to do the new president William Lai has said that he wants to make an accessible, non-obstacle space for people with physical disabilities and mental disabilities. For mental disabilities, it's harder to make an accessible space for all of them because some of them are sensitive to noise, as you probably know, right?
Yeah.
So they're also trying to find a way for that, and also trying to find a way for companies to hire them through incentives and through giving them accommodations. They're working through accommodations in the workplace, but they want to also the one thing that I'm most impressed about is he wants to make a custom tailored plan for every individual with disability in Taiwan, which is about 1.5 million out of 23 million people.
Wow.
23.5 million people in Taiwan. They want to make a custom tailored plan for each person with disability. So in every step in their life, they'll have support, including adulthood, which is something that a lot of countries are striving for, but haven't achieved yet because they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, Shannon?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know America's working on it too, right? They're still working
well, we have
on
the
it,
regional
but they still
centers,
haven't
and
figured it out.
Yeah, we're working on self-determination, but that's in California only. So, but if we can get that figured out, then maybe more states will adopt that. Well, I think it's amazing that, and there's a particular fire in your eye when you talk about these political advocacy things. I'm just wondering if you're at all considering entering the field of politics.
Well,
that tells me everything. That sigh.
It seems tempting. I mean, like I do see myself. I would love to be a politician, but I don't know if I have the temperament to be one, or it's very ugly. It's very ugly out there, politics. To be honest, there was one time when I was younger when my first role model was Barack Obama.
Uh-huh.
And actually, I liked Hillary Clinton first, and then Barack Obama, and then that was like my first like intense interest I had in my life. And let me be very honest. I just no offense to anyone out there who is listening right now, but that time I really felt hopeful, and like I remember everything about Obama and McCain, and of course I like Obama more, but I think both candidates were okay, and of course they represented their own points of view, but none of them were too extreme. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Extremely right or extremely left. I think in Taiwan, it's mostly center to left, or pro-China or anti-communist party, pretty much. But we're mostly center to left.
Well, it sounds like they could use somebody who's very persistent, Alex. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Maybe your talents will present towards that.
Yeah, my mom was amazed that I literally went up to the legislature in Taiwan, and I said and I straight up said that I represent America's nonprofit called Swag Squad Inc. And I literally called them, and then they took me seriously afterwards, and then that's how I started my relationship with that legislature office. And then they now recognize my name, and they're like, okay, Secretary General Lin, nice to talk to you again. And they know my name.
Love it.
And then they're like, they really are taking my advice. I show them 3 or 4 proposals I have for what laws I want them to adopt, and they're making it into a lawful language. And they really are listening to what I have to say, and I'm shocked because politicians usually don't do that. But she is what is called a non-district legislature, which is like only a number of votes. If, for example, 4 million votes, pretty much the DPP got 5 million votes, so 4.5. That'll give them about 13 legislatures from the list. They'll put 34 candidates, right? And they got 4.5 million votes, so that got them about 13 legislatures, or 14, about 14 or 13 to 14. And one of them is Legislature Lin, and she has been an activist for people who are minorities for her whole life. Well, and
sounds like you found
I never met that legislature, but I met her office assistant and manager, or I've talked with them, and they always update me on everything. And they're really serious about changing this law and making it. They really told me, like, don't worry, like, it's gonna work. It'll just take some time for people to adopt the same mindset they had with LGBT marriage. But in the beginning, it wasn't widely accepted, but in the end, like, everyone's like, yeah, it is. They're a part of, we'll let them be. This is the way they are. So.
Well, we could talk about this endlessly, Alex, but we're almost out of time, and I got to get back to the concert. I apologize. But I do want to say that Autism Journey with Elijah has written in and said, we would root for you if you ran for being a politician, Alex. So there you go.
My gosh.
You've already got somebody's vote.
That's flatters me.
But so this year, I know you always have a theme for the concert. What's the theme this year for the concert?
Oh, pledging to include.
Pledging to include. Okay. And so are you asking people to pledge to include? And businesses?
Yes.
People and businesses? Okay.
If in any kind of way, I want them to pledge to include. And after my musicians are a part of this movement too. And I'm also going to tell them to pledge to include. But I got to give a quick shout out to the Flutie Foundation. They have saved my butt so many times, including last year. To be honest, last year I almost didn't get to do it. And they jumped in at the opportunity to sponsor us. So without the Flutie Foundation, it wouldn't be possible. So I got to thank Elizabeth Monroe from the Flutie Foundation and for their tenacity and for sticking with me for this whole time. And so thankful for them.
So the concert is on July 13th from 6 to 9 p.m. at Universal City Walk. I'm looking right now at your Facebook page, which is Autism Rocks, and you've got lots of posts there talking about the different performers: Gage Danson, Ben Olson, Gabriella Zui, Sasha Saunders. You guys can, Sierra June. You guys can find out about each one of them. Laura K. Jane. You've got a different post for each one of them. Rapper C. Quig is going to be there. So, and Nico Vargas. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The concert itself is free. We need to remind everybody that. You don't have to buy, you bring the whole family. I love always that there's little kids there, and they can be dancing. There's room in front of the stage. There's a big, huge area where people stand and watch and dance and celebrate and perform. You know, in the past, people have brought like glow sticks and things and danced with them once the sun goes down. I remember one year a bunch of kids had lightsabers, and that was super fun.
Oh yeah, that was so fun.
Wasn't that?
Yeah, I loved it. Wait, it was your glow sticks. I remember it was your glow sticks.
Was it? Well, there was one year when we found a sponsor for you for glow sticks, but what I remember is they weren't going to get there in time. Did they get there in time?
I think it did in the end.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's a good time, you guys. It's a good concert. I recommend if you're somebody who doesn't want to stand for several hours, get there a little bit early, get yourself a table up at the top. That's free, you know.
My mom did that. My mom did that last year.
I mean, it's a very enjoyable way to watch it. They have a new restaurant. We were just there for 4th of July. They have a new restaurant up there that serves Dole Whip. I mean, come on. You get yourself a Dole Whip.
Panda Express.
Panda Express is up there. Habitat is up there. There's a whole bunch of restaurants. There's restaurants downstairs. You get your food. You go up there. You're a happy camper. You watch the concert, see people from the autism community. I'm going to drop by. I'm going to be there I don't know that I can be there for the whole time, because you always do this on the weekend of my anniversary, Alex. We need to coordinate better.
I remember last year you're like, I don't know if I'm coming this year. And then like
I dropped by. I dropped by because I like to see you and I like to see your mom. Is your mom coming?
She unfortunately can't make it this year. Or my dad.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, I'm going to drop by. Autism Journey with Elijah said my son would be in hog heaven. LOL. It is a great event to bring kids, and people bring little kids and they dance around and have a really good time. And it's a place where it's safe and where acceptance is happening and your kids can be kids. It's not like they have to sit and be quiet. It's not that kind of a venue. And there's everything in the world on that city walk. I still have tickets. There's an iFly there. I'm supposed to fly at some point and I haven't done it. So maybe I'll come and fly that night. I'll look like the Goodyear blimp when I'm flying in the thing. They have a tube where they push air and make you go up, and I have a coupon that's going to expire. Anyway, it's a good time, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again, Alex, and celebrating you and the event. And it's a wonderful event about awareness and acceptance. And what is the pledge again? Pledge to include?
To include.
Yeah. Well, how critical is that? Very, very,
yeah,
very
it's so important. I mean, let me just head in for a second, though, okay?
Yeah, we got about 1 minute.
Just let me tell you one thing. When I got included by people, I got to understand neurotypicals, and neurotypicals got to understand me. That's why it's important. We need both sides to understand each other. That's right. What we need more of.
Yep. Amen to that, Alex. Well, thank you as always. It's happening this Saturday, July 13th in Los Angeles at the Universal City Walk, which is where Universal Studios is, but they have this whole massive, very fun
shopping strip.
It's an amazing shopping, people watching, but there's a huge stage in the middle with a huge open area right outside
Jumbotron.
With a Megatron. So it's this Saturday, starting at 6:00, over by 9:00, so you can get the kids home and do whatever. It's free. It's free. There's a charge for the parking, but otherwise it's free. And if you can take the train, you don't even have to deal with parking.
Yeah, and a quick shout out to social media. Okay, follow at Autism Rocks events on Facebook and Instagram, and also you can donate to Autism Rocks events.org, and the events is ending with S and the rocks ending with S, so we remember that. Well,
good thing we remembered to include that. You can make donations to make sure that it continues to happen. It does not. There is, Mike, there is no cost for the actual event. There is only the cost for the parking. So if you're coming, let me know so that I make sure that I get to meet you in person. Would love to meet you guys. It's a very wonderful venue. I mean, it like at the end, there's this big long walkway, and at the end of it is Universal Studios. But it, you know, it's almost like an amusement park in and of itself. You know, there's a huge, who is it? The ape. It's like King Kong.
King Kong.
Well, I couldn't think for a second. It looks.
How you forget about King Kong?
I know. This is what happens when you get old. But it
You're
is.
not old.
Oh, Alex, you're 25 now, which means I'm 108.
No, you're not. Come on.
No, but I'm going to be 62 this year. Nobody would call me young anymore, Alex. It's okay. I'm trying to find the grace in it. But anyway, we're out of time. I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, Alex. Fly safe. And I hope that all the concert prep, all the lead up to it goes really well. And I will see you on Saturday night. And people should check out your Facebook. There we go. Autism Rocks. All right. Thank you so much, Alex. Brief programming note because we're out of time. But tomorrow, Ask Dr. Doreen with Dr. Doreen Grampiche. Last week before last, we had a question that came in about the difference between Gestalt and doing speech through ABA. And Dr. Grampiche answered the question and said, you can do both, but there are a lot of differences. And she said, I'd like more time to talk about that. So we're going to talk about that tomorrow and take questions about speech, language. We'll take questions about anything, but that's our starting topic, talking about, what Gestalt speaking is, how we get to speech with ABA, and maybe how we get there with a speech and language pathologist. So all of that tomorrow. And then we have an amazing guest on Wednesday, and I can't think who it is. I'll tell you tomorrow. We're out of time. All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time. Alex.
Hey, how you doing?
Oops, I gotta put my earpiece back in.